It was a very weird day because I woke up and I wasn't feeling good. We were going to the river with a bunch of friends and we were just gonna have some fun. When I jumped in, I immediately knew something was wrong. Someone like squeezed my heart and I couldn't breathe. I was gasping for air. I got out, I sat on the side. Everybody could tell that something was wrong, but nobody knew what was wrong.
I was at home getting ready to go to work. It was the last day of school. We still had to report to do our cumulative folders for the end of the year check. And I got a phone call from her little brother saying, "Mom, Shelby's not feeling good. Can you come pick her up?" By the time I got from our house to the river, which was just across town, they had to carry her and put her in the car. She was too weak to even walk to the car to get in on her own. I called my husband. I said, "Brian, you need to get off work now." Brian came home from work and they went to the doctor's office.
They did a bunch of tests on me and they were like, "Something's wrong. We don't know what it is. We can't figure it out here." They called the ambulance. They took me to the New Braunfels hospital and did some more tests, and that's about as much I remember from that day.
I met them at the doctor's office right as the ambulance was pulling up. I went inside. They had Shelby hooked up to an EKG, and they said that was the third one they had taken, and every time it was different. When the paramedics got there, they did another EKG from their machine. Again, it was completely different. Every test the ER doctors at Santa Rosa, New Braunfels did, they couldn't figure it out, but she kept declining. Her oxygen rate kept dropping. Then they put her on the full mask. It still kept dropping. Finally, they're like, "Ma'am, we need to intubate."
I guess my body was just so tired. I either fell asleep or something, and then it just went dark.
They told me they were gonna transfer her here to Children's Hospital. And I was like, okay, that's the best place for her. And then I heard them call Air Life. And my heart just sank. Brian and I just looked at each other and we just started crying right there in the middle of the New Braunfels emergency room. We landed here at 12:03 a.m. on May 29th. They unloaded her, and that's the fastest I've ever seen anybody move. They rolled her through the doors and I didn't see her again. I sat in the waiting room on the 5th floor by myself, not knowing what was going on with my daughter. In that time, I later found out she had coded 4 times, twice on the way here, and she was hooked up to ECMO in order to save her life. Found out that when they had hooked her up to ECMO, a blood clot had been thrown from her heart and it had lodged behind her knee in her left leg. Dr. Nieto and his wonderful team of amazing doctors and nurses, and I don't know how many people were working on my sweet girl, spent over 18 hours trying to dislodge the blood clot from her leg. They finally got it, but they didn't know how much damage had been done at that point. On Saturday, they called in Dr. Magnavosco, amazing lady. She sat down with me mom to mom and said, "Look, I'm gonna try everything in my power to save her leg, but her life is more important." I said, 100% true. I was like, I can't lose my girl. We did therapy, hot presses, cold presses, massages, trying to get the blood flow and everything to go back to the lower half of her leg. We finally made the decision that it wasn't working. It was too late. So on June 4th, Dr. Magnavosco did the first surgery, and they amputated the lower half of her leg, and we were hopeful that that was gonna be all that needed to be done. We waited 4 more days, and on June 8th, we did the second and final amputation surgery above her knee. As a mom, all you want to do is see your baby's eyes open and know that even though I knew she was still with us, know she's still with you. Hear her voice again, see her look at you, have her hold your hand. But at the same time, I knew that I had a lot to tell her, and it was going to be so hard as a mom to tell her, so hard as a 16-year-old to understand what all she had been through for the past 17 days that she didn't know she had been through. Her being so active, being in color guard, marching band, a member of the choir, a member of our church group. She had been accepted to march in Bands of America Honor Band at the Tournament of Roses parade. It was going to completely change her life, and I knew that not only as a teenager, but for the rest of her life. She was an amputee now, and she had no idea.
I wake up and I still think we're in New Braunfels because that's my last memory, is, okay, I'm still at the New Braunfels Hospital. It's the next day. I slept for 3 weeks and I had no clue. So I woke up and doctors are asking me questions. I can't talk. Like, my voice is just barely a whisper. And they're trying to ask me, what's your name? Where are you? Do you know who this is? Do you know where you are? This, that. And I'm finally like, it's the next day. I'm in New Braunfels. And they're like, no, you're not. It's 3 weeks later and you're in San Antonio.
When she first opened her eyes, I just cried. She tried to write, and of course her muscles were so weak, we couldn't understand what she was trying to write. But I just kept telling her, Mom and Dad are here, and we're not going anywhere. So I told her about the cancer diagnosis first. I was like, they figured out what was wrong with you.
I was diagnosed with neuroendocrine cancer, and I had 2 tumors behind my kidneys.
We waited about, not too long, a couple hours, let her process that before we told her about the amputation.
I'm lying in a hospital bed. I'm in San Antonio. I can't talk. It's been a few weeks and nobody was telling me anything else. And I was like, okay, that's it. I'm like, I have cancer. We'll deal with it. I'll take the meds for that, blah, blah, blah. And then my foot started hurting. I told my mom, I was like, hey Mom, my foot's hurting. Can you rub my foot? And she starts to rub my right foot. And I go, no, it's not that one.
And I just cried because she didn't have a foot.
What do you mean it hurts? Like, just rub the foot. Like, what's the big deal? And she's like, Shelby, they amputated your leg while you were asleep. And I'm like, what? I couldn't have asked for better nurses, for better doctors, for anything better in this hospital. They were amazing. They made my 2 months here a joy. And when I left, I was sad to leave them, but I knew that they were always going to be there for me, and I was going on to bigger and better things.
The nurses and the doctors and the child life specialists and PT, OT, speech, nephrology, wound care, everybody had a hand in Shelby's care, and they also had a hand in my care. I couldn't have survived 62 days in this hospital at my child's bedside without the wonderful staff and the angels that work here.
Well, my original goal was to be out of the hospital before I turned 17. And I got out of there July 28th. My birthday is August 18th. And I was like, I want to walk the stage at graduation. I want to be able to walk across that stage like every other kid in my graduating class, with no crutches, with nothing. I want to, for that 10 seconds of graduation, be a normal kid.
Shelby Shelton.
As a mom, the experience that Shelby went through and our whole entire family went through over the last 12 months is unimaginable. To see her strength and to see her determination and to see her walking and fighting, she's living proof that miracles happen. And it's because of the people at this hospital that I have my baby girl still.